Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the stream, to the home studio, to the vibes. The vibes are immaculate. I said this on People of the Internet, if you guys watched already today. It feels like a Monday to me today, but it feels like a good Monday, like a productive Monday. Some Mondays you want to just crawl back in bed and like lay in a hole and die and act like it's not a new week. And some days you're like, there's a lot of good stuff going on in the world. It's a good day to be alive, and today is one of those Mondays. We are back from Washington, D.C., where I spent the weekend at the March for Life and Students for Life's National Pro-Life Summit that happens every year the day after the March for Life. I know I said life like 20 times there in the same sentence, so if that was confusing to you, I'll slow down a little bit. Every single year since Roe v. Wade was decided by the Supreme Court in 1972, my years are escaping me right now, 1973. For 50 years now, plus, the annual March for Life has been held in Washington, D.C., marching from the middle of the National Mall around the Washington Monument area to the steps of the Supreme Court. And originally, it was to show to the Supreme Court of the United States that we are not an overwhelmingly abortion-loving country, that legalizing, so to speak, and it's more complicated than that, but legalizing abortion through 9 unelected justices is not appropriate or constitutionally what should have happened in our country, and just to encourage a pro-life message across America and the world. Now, in the last couple of years, it has been a March for Life to celebrate a post-Roe v. Wade America. And we talked about that a little bit on Friday, what that looks like from the pro-life movement's new fight against abortion to make abortion not just illegal in America, but culturally unthinkable as well. So it was a total freaking blast getting to go to the March for Life. As always, it always is. I saw a bunch of you guys there. I saw a bunch of wonderful creators there. And the best part is I saw a bunch of awesome signs there. I was stupid and I didn't pre-download these signs before the stream. I had the thought after I said, oh my gosh, how fun would it be to show all of these cool images to people while the countdown music was playing. So this is going to be very grassroots live stream, but I thought before we start talking about the World Economic Forum on the stream today, I'd show you guys a few of my favorite signs that I saw at the March for Life this year because they are just that good. Before we do that, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for joining us, especially if you are new around here for the stream. We are live on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Getter, Locals, and of course Instagram. It is a party to be around here on the stream, and we are here as always to unpack the biggest cultural issues happening in our world from a Gen Z truth-based perspective. Today we're going to be unpacking the World Economic Forum's annual meeting that took place all week last week in Davos, Switzerland. They said the quiet part out loud very, very often about exactly what they want to accomplish in the world, especially when it comes to creating a new world order and wanting more control over all of us as individuals all over the globe. So we have tons of videos to react to from that. It got literally crazy at some points there, so stick around for that great conversation. And as we're jumping into the stream today, do me a huge, huge favor, and if you haven't already, smash that follow, subscribe button wherever you guys are watching. It will always be free to watch these streams. I am an independent content creator, meaning we don't have a huge budget to continue growing all of our channels. It is all grassroots, baby. So every single time you guys hit follow or subscribe, it means the absolute world in continuing to grow our channels. While I'm pulling up some of these pictures, let's say hi to people in the chat as well. Did you guys watch the stream on Friday? I put together like a compilation video of the craziest pro-life activism moments of last year, and I know it got a ton of views, in particular on Rumble, so shout out Rumble for blowing that bad boy up. It's absolutely good stuff, but I'm curious if you guys watched the stream on Friday from some of the craziest moments on campus last year. Jaylee says, yes, that was absolutely insane. A bunch of you guys are saying, yeah, you watched it. It was pretty crazy. Honestly, especially with the Virginia Commonwealth University event, that was the really long video I played on Friday. I kind of blacked out. Like, I remember all of those things happening, but it feels like I'm watching a video of somebody else getting screamed at and trying to be hit over the head with a megaphone and screaming in the literal proximity of my eyeballs through a mask. Like, I remember it happening, but I almost remember the video portion of it more than the actual confrontation in my face. I don't know if that was just my brain blacking out when that much insanity was happening, but I digress. All right, I'm going to pull up some of these pictures for you guys because they are absolutely phenomenal in terms of the best posters at the March for Life on Friday. People get more and more creative every single year, and even though I don't necessarily agree with every single one of these, I think it's a phenomenally interesting concept to explain to people that to be pro-life, you don't have to be Catholic. You certainly don't even have to be Christian or religious at all. You can care about the greatest human rights issue, arguably, of all time. I certainly think it's of our time, but of all time as well, without having to agree with me politically, my worldview politically, without having to share my same religious foundation, or even be a woman. So all of that to be said, this is going to be really fun. This was a super interesting one from somebody standing right at the beginning of the March for Life, holding a sign that says, "I deserve a life," in multiple different languages, including in Arabic, which I thought was really cool, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. We've got this bad boy. Again, this is going to be like insanely grassroots because this is just where we're at right now, because I'm not quite prepared. Wow, Isabel's just struggling. Sorry, guys. It is a Monday. LGBTQ plus rights start at conception. This sign was held by somebody standing near the Supreme Court steps from a group of left-wing individuals that are trying to draw attention to the fact that leftists and Democrats and liberal people can be pro-life as well. So I saw a lot of these LGBTQ plus rights start at conception signs, which I found absolutely fascinating in my personal humble opinion. One of these is not going to let us show it, so that's unfortunate, but we'll figure it out. This one from this guy, I loved this one. This sign was near the steps of the Supreme Court as well. "No thanks, I choose life," which is from Ice Age. If you guys ever watched that movie when we were little kids, so freaking creative. I love this. This guy we ended up doing a man on the street interview with, but it was a great conversation and just super eye-opening and interesting. It says 20 million black abortions since Roe v. Wade. 33% of the black population has been aborted since Roe v. Wade. 70%, of Planned Parenthood centers are near black neighborhoods. Black Lives Matter, right? I saw lots and lots of signs like this, including signs that said abortion is literally racist and talking about the BLM side to the argument. Nobody really wants to talk about that in the realm of what's really happening with the abortion industry, strategically trying to wipe out an entire demographic of people. It's always been that way since its founding, but this guy was trying to draw attention to it. This beautiful young girl said, "Stop shacking, get married," which I thought was just super, super, super based. It made me giggle so much when I saw that particular sign, and I just thought it was amazing. This one I'm going to have to screenshot because otherwise it's just being weird, but we ended up being approached by the team at Every Life. If you guys are familiar with Every Life, they are the pro-life diaper company that is affiliated directly with Public Square, and they are just the best people in the whole wide world. These were their signs this year, and I cannot get over how genius their marketing was. This is me and my friend Christine Jurgen, who you guys should absolutely follow, but all of their hats, all of their t-shirts, and all of their signs had this tagline, "Make more babies," which I think is just awesome. Like, truly genius marketing. Their team behind this was so clever and so creative. So those are just a few examples, but I had a total blast. It was snowing, it was gorgeous, but not too cold, and there were just a lot of people out willing to stand for what is right, even when things are difficult and even when hope can sometimes seem lost in society. So wonderful experience getting to be there at the March for Life, and thank you guys so much for your patience with a pre-recorded stream on Friday, but I'm really, really happy to be back. Also, in the realm of Isabel's personal life, I am moving this week. You guys might have been following along with all the insane apartment saga of the 19th floor that I live on flooding because my apartment building was not built correctly. Lots and lots to unpack there at a later time, but I am officially having the movers come on Wednesday to move all of my furniture over to my new place to live. I'm super excited about it. We're going to be mixing some things up in the studio. We've had this set up since September of 2022, so it's kind of time to try some new stuff in terms of the setup and the layout of everything, and so I'm really excited to share that with you guys as well here in the next couple of days. So it might look a little bit weird on the stream. There might be some moving boxes. We might have some weird backdrops. It might not be the fancy, well-lit situation that we're all dealing with for the next couple of days until we get settled in the new studio. But you guys are great and you roll with the punches. And I certainly am not worried about that too much. All right, let's jump right into the World Economic Forum because we got a lot to talk about. Let me tell you what. If you guys don't already know this, the World Economic Forum holds their annual open forum conference, which literally anybody from the public can attend, but also their annual meeting every single January in Davos, Switzerland. So just last week, throughout the entire week, elites and gazillionaires and politicians and really influential, typically leftists, flew in from all over the world to this very obscure random mountain town in Switzerland to basically plot world domination. Like, that's probably the best explanation that I could logically give you for what the Open Forum conference and the annual meeting actually looks like. It's basically a bunch of politicians getting together in a room and trying to figure out, and entrepreneurs and business owners and everything as well, getting in a room and trying to figure out how they can take ownership and control over as many things in society as possible. And this year had kind of an interesting spin and theme on things that was really, really technology based in terms of most of the conversations that they were having, be it biotechnology, which we'll react to here in just a second, or artificial intelligence and what Chat GPT or AI robots or AI dating looks like for the future of humanity and how much control they need over that. Media-based technology and social media was a huge component of the conversation at the World Economic Forum annual meeting this year. There was a lot going on that seemed a little dystopian to me, at the very least. If you go to their website, you actually can go back and watch their open forum talks. You can't watch every single thing from the World Economic Forum as a general member of the public, but you can watch these open forum talks on their website, and they post videos about them. So the open forum portion of the conference is the part that's open to the public. Like, anybody can register. You can just show up and you get to sit in the audience to have these conversations. They say it's an event format that allows a broader audience to participate in the activities, aka we do 99.9% of things at the WEF behind the scenes, and we don't want you to be aware of what we're talking about. But this is the quiet part out loud that we are actually willing to say. So they end up putting together a list of videos from the talks from the last event. We're not going to watch the full length of any one of these talks because I have a compilation video of a bunch of clips that we're going to react to instead. But just a few of the talks from this particular year were a primer on AI. The rapid growth of AI has raised critical questions about the risks and opportunities that technology brings to our daily lives. And then they basically ask, how much should we have intimate control over that? Turning back the clock. They're talking about the science of reversing aging in the world of biotechnology and how many things they could possibly manipulate to make sure that we never age. Lots and lots of stuff about climate change. This one's called On Thin Ice, that the first major component of the Earth system has been irreversibly breached, the Arctic summer sea ice. And then if we click on this talks from the last event link, you can see all of the open forum conversations that they had, some of which are just really, really, really scary. This one, for example, medicine and women. From research projects to clinical trials conducted exclusively with men, medical science is only just beginning to explore the importance of a combination of factors from gender to social behavior. Generally speaking, they start talking about manipulating gender in certain ways through medicine in this conversation. Super intense and weird and scary. This one about biotechnologies. With research and development disrupted, it says disruptive and innovative technologies such as AI, open science, and synthetic biology are reshaping the research and development field. What risks and possibilities lie ahead? In other words, like, how do we grow a baby in a petri dish in a laboratory? Do we even need human beings to conceive the next generation of human beings? Lab-grown meat and all of the weird dystopian biotech stuff that we talk about a lot on the stream. It's not a tinfoil hat. It's not a conspiracy theory. Like, all all of these elites are telling you out loud, this is exactly what they are trying to accomplish in the future. Like I said, lots of stuff about green technology and climate change. For example, air pollution, ice. Here's one. Speaking truth to power. Global crises have the potential to divert attention from climate change action and preparedness. Yet we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction and humans are not exempt. So basically, how to be like the kids throwing cans of paint at priceless oil paintings in museums, or disrupting Les Miserables productions to try to speak truth to power about climate change. Liberating science. A philosophy of openness has the potential to accelerate breakthroughs in research and technology while directly confronting questions on trustworthiness and bias in science. In other words, none of you trust us anymore post-COVID because we've gone out of our way to make sure that you can't trust us post-COVID in the era of I am the science, of one guy saying that on TV rather than a conglomeration of scientists from around the world actually researching anything meaningful. But I actually love how one of you guys just put this in the Instagram chat. It's just Nick says, this is basically a compilation of them wanting to destroy the human soul. And if I can sum up the World Economic Forum meeting for you in just a few words, it would be just that. It's essentially a bunch of power-hungry elites who have massive influence over society in some way, shape, or form. Whether that is political influence and political power as the head of a country or the deputy prime minister of a country. We have a good one from Canada coming to you. Whether that's a unbelievably powerful, untouchable, almost trillionaire CEO. This year we're supposed to see the world's first trillionaires, like Jeff Bezos being one of them, who literally has more influence and power over society than anyone ever previously thought possible from the business world, or people who control the media and what information we interact with on a day-by-day basis. This meeting is a bunch of global gazillionaire elites and or people in positions of extreme political power locking arms together to try to limit the influence, power, liberty, and freedom of every other person on the face of the planet through the most dystopian means possible. It is a quest, well said Nick, to destroy the human soul. And I know that that sounds so freaking hyperbolic. I know that sounds so tinfoil hat, ridiculous conspiracy theorist of me, but it's not me saying that. It's the people that run this event saying that. And I'm going to show you exactly the quiet part out loud that they are boldly beginning to tell us. I've put together a little compilation video of the most viral moments from last week's World Economic Forum annual meeting, and I want you to just listen for yourself what these people are telling you when it comes to their end goal to control society. I'm going to pause this one right away. Actually, pause this one right away because this guy is important to talk about. This is Klaus Schwab. He is the head of the World Economic Forum, and I want this to be the first clip that we watch because this guy is going to lay the for everything else that we react to.
Dans ce nouveau monde, on doit accepter une transparence, et je dirais même une transparence totale. Tout va être transparent. Et il faut s'habituer, il faut se comporter ainsi.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. Everything in his perfect world, if he could create a perfect future, would be transparent. Everything is transparent, and you have to be okay with that. You have to get on board with that, and you have to behave accordingly. That's his words, not mine. But in his words, what he's saying is we will have no more privacy. None. Essentially, you as an individual with any private thoughts, interests, hobbies, passions, etc., will kind of cease to exist.
Ça devient, comment dirais-je, intégré dans votre personnalité, mais si on n'a rien à cacher, il ne faut pas avoir peur.
If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be afraid. This is the type of psychological manipulation that these people are trying to get you to buy into. It's totally normal to have no privacy. It's totally normal to have no secrets. It's totally normal to essentially not even be an individual and just let everything we tell you be integrated into your personality. Because if you have nothing to hide, then you shouldn't be afraid. Then this happened. So this is the opening of the annual meeting in Davos, where apparently COVID is over for everyone, not for you, because they're bringing mask mandates back and they're trying to reinstitute all of the COVID protocols from 2020 going into the election in a few months, which is a phenomenally interesting thing to think about. But COVID is over for the global elites at the World Economic Forum annual meeting because they have what appears to be like a witch breathing on everyone to kick the meeting off and perform some sort of breathing ritual.
Why should I?
Like breathe on everyone's face. I know I said that like so sassily about performing some sort of like ritual here, but does anyone, chat, not being facetious here, does anyone actually know what's going on? Like, is this some sort of like native ritual somewhere? I'm literally so confused. I don't know what's happening. Anybody? I genuinely have no idea what's going on. Everybody is saying, what the hell is this? I mean, right? She's like spitting on people's faces, and this is how we kick off the World Economic Forum. Okay, so good to know I'm not insane. Nobody else knows what's happening.
That order seems to not be the order anymore.
So now we're moving into saying the quiet part out loud about the new world order. So this is a term that was coined by the World Economic Forum, actually. I think it was 2020. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But in 2020, they put out a whole document that was like a plan for the future, saying this is our plan for the new world order. We want to institute a new world order. And then the right started drawing attention to this in the media. And then everybody said it was all these conservatives like fear mongering and spreading these radical conspiracy theories by saying there's no such thing as a new world order. That's not actually a thing. We didn't come up with that word. The World Economic Forum came up with that word, but they're telling us themselves exactly what they're trying to accomplish here, that there is a new world order that they are in fact trying to implement. Let's hear what he has to say.
That order seems to not be the order anymore. We are on the way to a new order, so we are between orders. Do you agree with that, or are there ways of what are we able to keep on the positive side from the old order to bring into a new world order, and how can we avoid that new world order becomes like a jungle growing back, and we rather have order based on international law and the principles that have brought us prosperity.
Did you hear what he said there? That he kind of talked through that quickly, but he said a new world order based on international law, not national sovereignty or what's right for your country, but a new world order based on international law that doesn't allow for back growth into the old world order, how things have traditionally been done, traditional values, Western civilization, etc., creating like a globalist society, a globalist order that is specifically based in international law.
And freedom for decades.
I guess, and maybe this is the old kind of teacher me coming out. I think of this a little bit more about a transition of eras rather than a transition of orders, but the two are kind of cousins of one another.
It literally is the same thing, but okay.
The reason I draw the distinction is because I don't think the international order built after 1945 is getting replaced wholesale with some new order. It will obviously evolve as it has evolved multiple times over the decades since 1945. But I do think in a more sharp and distinctive way, we are moving into a new era, and that's what I talked about in my remarks, that We are, the post-Cold War era has come to a close. We're at the start of something new. We have the capacity to shape what that looks like. And
in other words, all the people at this meeting are shaping what the future of civilization at large is supposed to look like in the new era, aka New World Order. That's the term, again, that was coined by the World Economic Forum themselves. People didn't make that up. It's not a conspiracy theory. Like, the World Economic Forum made that up themselves. So these people at the meeting are trying to have control, he said that, over what the future new era, New World Order looks like.
Part of it will be many of the core principles and core institutions of the existing order, adapted for the challenges that we face today.
If you go back really not that long ago, as I said.
So that's fascinating to think about. Really fascinating to think about. We're creating a new world order that is stemming from how things have always been done.
Dans ce nouveau monde.
Oh no, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Stemming from how things have always been done, but fundamentally different. New challenges for a new era require new solutions, and we are going to be the people to control that. And I know that doesn't, at its face, sound like a scary thing to wrap your head around. That doesn't sound like inherently this dystopian, weird, authoritarian future. But when you think about what the solutions they're creating look like, you will eat bugs instead of meat because it's better for the planet. If you do want to eat meat, you'll eat the meat that we grow in our laboratories that we have no idea if it will give you cancer or not. You basically cannot travel anymore. If you've done any of the studies about how they want to limit airplane travel and long distance travel, you'll lack the ability to do that. So your freedom for that is gone by very quickly. We will control 100% of the media, both traditional and alternative, to make sure that we can control the facts. I'll play that one for you here in a second. It kind of feels Orwellian to me. As soon as you go beyond the surface of that statement, we want to control the building of this new world order. Giddy for God says in the chat, describing the plot of 1984. I mean, quite literally, it is describing the plot of 1984, which, as a reminder, was supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual. But if you thought any of that was crazy, it gets way, way, way crazier. So let's go ahead and watch some of this as it continues to unfold. Check this out.
Adapted for the challenges that we face today.
If you go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well.
If you go back not that long ago, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we owned the facts. But as soon as people on social media, independent content creators, independent journalists, citizen journalists, started making their own content outside of the realm of legacy media, they don't own the truth. They don't own the facts anymore, and they feel threatened by it.
Well, if it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact.
Yeah, I'm really glad, for one, that it doesn't just say it in the New York Times and we all accept it as fact anymore.
Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying.
Which is good. That is a good thing, by the way. These people will sit around in their fancy, well-lit studios, in their multi-gazillion-dollar sets in a random mountain town in Switzerland, taking private jets from all over the world to be there, and make you feel bad for questioning things, make you feel bad for seeking out alternative media, make you feel bad for tuning out the owned truth of the legacy media that they controlled, that they had literal ownership over. But that's a good thing. If we really believe in truth, if we really believe in creating a better society, if we really believe in freedom, that has to start with the freedom of access to information as we see fit, to do all of the research about all of the ideas, the good, the bad, and everything in between, and to discern the truth for ourselves. That's what research used to be before this era, the new era.
So it's no longer good enough for us just to say, this is what happened, or this is the news. We have to explain our working. So readers expect to understand how we source stories. They want to know how we go about getting stories. We have to sort of lift the bonnet, as it were, and in a way that newspapers aren't used to doing, and explain to people what we're doing. We need to be much more transparent about how we go about collecting the news.
Isn't that fascinating that she's almost like complaining? She's almost saying like, ugh, now we have to over-explain how we have our methodology. Now we have to over-explain how we're conducting research. Now we have to over-transparently describe every single thing that we do in journalism to make sure people can trust them. Of course they do. That's called journalistic integrity. That used to be a standard baseline expectation of any news source. And now it's like an extra hassle that they never were worried about doing before. Talk about Delulu. These people are Delulu. Crazy. Oh, here we go. This woman is the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. The Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. And I want you to listen very closely to what she has to say.
Hugely transformative moment in the whole global economy. I think that right now we're living through a moment which is comparable only to the Industrial Revolution itself in terms of the energy transition and the way we need to retool all of our manufacturing.
She was saying this specifically in reference to decarbonizing all of Canada, to get rid of all carbon emissions throughout all of Canada, that there's nothing comparable to the level of societal overhaul that they are seeking to accomplish than the Industrial Revolution.
That is huge. Canada's strategy, Borge, is to say, look at these two trends and let's see how we can use them to play to Canada's strengths. And our view is there's a lot that Canada can offer to the world in this moment. You know, we have the critical minerals and metals that you need to build a green economy. We have a lot of clean energy. 85% of our grid is already clean, and we are investing heavily in building more clean energy. We are a country that believes in manufacturing, has manufacturing know-how and capacity. And then you guys spoke about industrial policy. You know, the thing that is new about industrial policy is we are developing our economies, growing our economies at a time when we also need to accomplish the green transition.
Do you know what this really sounds like to me? The green transition, capital T, capital D, or sorry, capital G, capital T. The green transition. This really sounds to me like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. The green transition, all capital letters. Canada, I don't know if any Canadians are watching in the chat, but Canada, speak up. Is this the level of societal overhaul comparable to a Green New Deal that you guys are seeing in your country? Because it sounds to me like, oh, we're creating new government jobs. We're creating new government policies. We're creating these new public policies, aka government regulations, that are mandating we have to go in this direction, which sounds quite comparable to the Green New Deal, which interestingly had very little to do with green energy and had very little to do with environmental protections, had very little to do with sustaining ecosystems, has very little to do with conservation projects at large, but really had a whole lot to do with quite literally implementing socialistic tendencies into our government, to have the government control the means of production, at least in the energy sector and in the Green New Deal proposal, much, much larger than the energy sector as well, that it's not really about climate change. It's not really about controlling the internet. It's about controlling you at the end of the day. A bunch of Canadians are speaking up saying, Canadian here, Canada is ruined. Jeff says, sounds like Canada right now, they want all electric vehicles, which is funny because -49 in Alberta, we have a consumption warning, an energy consumption warning. If you don't need your lights or appliances, then turn them off. So you can't have a gas stove. You can't have a gas fireplace. You can't be utilizing these things in your house because they're not electric. But when it gets too cold in a place like Alberta, which, gee, I wonder how often that happens throughout the year, you're being told you literally are not allowed to use electricity. That's so wild. Metamorphosis says, I'm from Canada. Yes, new regulations every single month. just about. Hydro says, I'm from Canada and nobody likes her. This is the deputy prime minister, or Trudeau, or agrees with what is going on. Pedro says, whoever wears that much blue is just not normal. Classic. A lot of you guys are saying this. We hope that Ontario and Quebec lose their faith in this crap and vote someone else in to do better things, because nobody's voice here seems to matter. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. That's terrible. Christiana says, the level of Canadians that have fled from Canada to Florida is astounding. They were running for their lives. There are a ton of Canadian refugees in Florida. Sarah says they're definitely working to take our cars away, making parking unavailable and ridiculously hard to drive around the city. Will says Canada here, confirming. Conspiracy says, yes, very true, Canadian here, and we're being taxed to death. Andy says, best thing I did was leave Canada. So again, this doesn't really sound like conservation. This doesn't really sound like preventing climate change. This doesn't even really sound like reducing carbon emissions or greenhouse gases. Like, is it a cool thing, I suppose, that 85% of your grid is from clean energy? Sure. But if you can't use the energy, if people are being told they're not allowed to turn on the lights in their house or charge their mandated electric vehicle or cook something for their children to eat because they have an electric stove, is that really about the environment, or is it really about controlling people through a government that runs the means of production, at least for the energy sector? You make up your mind for yourself.
And I spoke yesterday to a very significant international business leader who is also a big investor in Canada.
That sounds not sus at all.
And he said to me, all the countries in the world need to be very careful that decarbonization does not mean deindustrialization. I thought that was an extremely smart comment, and Canada is absolutely determined that decarbonization for us will mean more jobs, more growth, more manufacturing, and we recognize...
I don't know, lady. I'm hearing a lot of your citizens speak up in the chat right now that that is not the case.
Government needs to play a role to make that happen.
Ugh. In other words, the government needs to control all of it. Immediately no. The scariest words in the entire human history, stringing together of language, is I am from the government and I'm here to help. No. Here we go.
With ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do is make money.
We're going to have to rewind that. Did you guys catch the word this woman used right at the beginning? Ecocide? Ecocide. With ecocide, what people are doing. We know what that means. Homicide is killing someone as an individual. Genocide is killing an entire group of people. Infanticide is killing a child. Suicide is killing yourself. Ecocide, that's a new word apparently introduced to the world at the World Economic Forum, where you are killing the ecosystem, you're killing the environment. Well, how are we killing the environment? Let's find out from this lovely woman who I'm sure is completely mentally stable through all of her life.
With ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are...
I'm sorry. Did she just say you're committing ecocide? You are killing the environment when you are farming and when you are fishing. Did I hear that right, chat? Am I hearing that correctly? That you are committing ecocide if you are farming or fishing and, making money or going to work. Am I reading into that too much? I'm pretty sure that's what I just heard. That you're ruining the earth if you're farming or fishing. Let's rewind again. I feel like I have to listen to this woman like 20 times in a row.
With ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do is make money, is farm, is fish, is...
Yeah, that's what I just heard. Okay, so now if you're a farmer and or you go fishing, you are committing ecocide.
do all of these things that are, producing energy and so on, as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens.
The collateral damage. There's missing context and awareness about the collateral damage your family farm and your fishing trip to feed your family is causing to society. You are directly committing genocide against the earth, ecocide, as they're now calling it. You are hindering the planet from thriving. If you are helping the planet grow plants and crops, if you're cultivating your land appropriately, if you are helping animal populations not bottleneck, but instead maintain sustainable levels by fishing and eating those fish, I don't even know what to say to that. I genuinely cannot understand what to say about that. Jeff says, for what it's worth, all of these speakers are collateral damage to my mental well-being. Yeah, Blue Goose says, sorry guys, signed a random farmer on the internet. I guess all of you random farmers, fishermen and women, anyone working in agriculture, you owe all of us a massive apology for committing rampant ecocide every single day.
With that.
Why? Because in order to open an account, you need to have an ID.
Right.
And
this is good. This one needs some context for you. So when I downloaded this one, I was truly just astounded. These people on this panel are talking about creating biometric tracking to make sure that you are receiving certain medications and the like, you know what I'm trying to say by that, by tracking your biology.
I have to say that when I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this.
We're trying to grow biometric and digital IDs for everyone all over the world, including all over Africa and South America, is what she just said. Biometric identification.
And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services.
It's necessary for financial services now for you to have biometric identification. Yeah, that's going to be a no from me, dog. Just no. Every day I feel more and more like Ron Swanson when he buried his gold underneath a tree in Parks and Recreation in Pawnee, Indiana. And then he moves it to different trees over time, right? That I feel like that sounded crackpot crazy at the time. But maybe he was onto something. Maybe he knew biometric identification was coming to us for financial institutions as vital ID in the future.
But not only.
So,
it's also good for school enrollment. It's
School enrollment, biometric ID, no.
also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not.
Who actually got a vaccination or not? I'm not making this up, you guys. Like, I am not the one telling you that they are saying this. They are the one telling you that they are saying this. That they want to biometrically identify you, kind of like the palm swipe thing when you're checking out at Whole Foods now, or through your eyeball or through your fingerprint. They want to be able to biometrically identify you for your bank account, to register for a school, sign up for a school, for all other financial institutions, to make sure that we're enforcing health law and whether or not someone got a vaccine or not.
It's very good to actually to get your subsidies, from the
To get government subsidies if you're poor and you need government subsidies, the only way we're going to give it to you is if you have this biometric ID we're going to make you have.
Government. So this has not only effect to the financial services, it's a very important issue.
The good news is
I have to underscore this again. They are telling you this, not me. I am the messenger, okay? The quiet part is very, very, very loud at this point. So for all the fact checkers who are probably inevitably going to come for this video saying I'm spreading these radical conspiracy theories, we are literally just reacting to what they are telling us happened. Like, they told us that they wanted to do this. They told us this is their perfect new world order. They told us that we want biometric ID for you to do literally anything in society, to track your school enrollment, your financial services, to enforce health law, to make sure that you can get government subsidies. Of course, side note, as Alex points out in our live chat, it's also good for tracking you. They're the ones telling us that they're annoyed that they have to explain their methodology in the world of journalism so that you can have journalistic integrity and trust what a newspaper is writing for you. They're the ones saying that they're frustrated that other forms of media are trying to tell you the truth and do research on their own outside of what institutions and what companies they control. They're the ones saying if you have nothing to hide, nothing bad is going to happen to you, but you have to sign up for this or else. They are saying the quiet part out loud. We are just the messengers.
The elite across the world trust each other more and more.
Did you hear that? I'm going to back that one up for you guys because that's really important. Listen very carefully.
Important issue.
The good news is the elite across the world trust each other more and more.
So why does all of this matter, right? Why does all of the insane policy solutions these people cook up every single year at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, why does it matter? How does it impact you and me, even if you have different citizenship than I do, even if we fundamentally politically disagree on everything, even if we come from fundamentally different backgrounds and worldviews and ways of life? It matters because, as was said, the good news is, the elites around the world are trusting each other more and more. I didn't say that. They did. The elites are banding arms together more and more to retain power from you, to take away liberty and freedom from you, to manipulate and control you, the information that you receive, how you're able to collect subsidies or get a job or go to school or what your healthcare looks like, whether or not you'll be able to travel, what sort of food you are going to eat, control of all of the major companies that control the distribution of goods and services around the world. This impacts every single one of us in their words, new world order that's jurisdictionally under international law over individual or even national sovereignty. And it's scary and taking a new realm of intensity, I think, in 2024, when they are saying to us and letting us know the elites trust each other more and more, because there's a sense of camaraderie here with everyone from a Jeff Bezos to a Klaus Schwab to a Justin Trudeau to a Joe Biden and every other person that you probably don't even know their names but are a whole lot scarier and more manipulative behind the scenes than you could ever begin to wrap your head around. It matters because they are getting closer. They are working together more. They are realizing their combined power and influence together has a whole lot more success in controlling, manipulating, and silencing you, no matter who you are, all over the world.
So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together.
We can come together and design a new world order and do beautiful things in stripping all of humanity of their most basic fundamental human rights together as the elites.
Bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less.
Interesting. In their world, the bad news is every single country around the world is trusting the elites less and less and less. And gee, it's really, really freaking hard to imagine why. It's impossible to imagine why we are all trusting the elites less and less and less when your quiet part out loud gets louder and louder and louder every single year, when more and more people are paying attention, when more and more good people are seeking to share the truth with others, breaking free from the media that you control, when we're realizing the tightening grip from you people on all of our livelihoods, our family dynamics, our education, etc., every single day. It's really freaking hard to wonder why that's happening.
So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
Which actually might positively be spun as the demise of all of these insane people. So there was a really interesting twist that happened at the World Economic Forum, and I'm glad that I'm ending our reaction clips on this one because I thought this was just incredible. Talk about the literal middle finger to the elites. The new president of Argentina, who is the frickin' goat. Let me just say this up front, Lord. I have seen what you can do for Argentina. I have seen what can be done. I've seen what you've done for Argentina. Please let it happen to us, okay? I'm just putting that out there into the heavens. So may we all have the same prayer. The president of Argentina was asked to speak and had a nuclear flamethrower to throw in all of these a-holes' faces. Of course, there's going to be a little PSA here for you. Okay. Here we go. This is golden.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Hoy estoy acá
Today, I'm here
para decirles que Occidente
to tell you that the Western world is in danger.
está en peligro porque
And it
aquellos que
is
supuestamente
endangered
deben defender
because
los
those who are
valores de Occidente
supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism.
Oh, literally, he starts his speech. The man starts the speech with, "Hi, I'm speaking at the World Economic Forum. Thanks for having me here." The Western world is crumbling because of you jackasses that are trying to say that you're saving Western values while instituting in socialism. Like, talk about a mic drop instantaneously right at the beginning of the speech. And I know that the dub, the English voiceover to it, doesn't exactly translate what he's trying to say in Spanish. It's actually far more eloquent and far more impactful in Spanish than it is in English. But even the dub version, I'm like, my goodness, this is so good.
And thereby to poverty.
And if we implement socialism, it's inevitably going to lead to poverty. Facts.
Fortunately, in recent decades, motivated by some well-meaning individuals willing to help others, and others motivated by the wish to belong to a privileged caste, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism.
So we're abandoning freedom for collectivism. We're abandoning individuality. We're abandoning nationality for global collectivism or globalism, which sounds a whole lot like a different way to say we're creating a new world order based in international law rather than individual or national sovereignty. He's literally just telling these people exactly what they are already telling the world, and they got offended by that. He's just repeating what they've already said.
We're here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world.
Yes! Praise again, Lord. We have seen what you've done for Argentina. May it happen everywhere else. Collectivism is never the solution to the problems of humanity, ever. It is an experimental solution that never ends up achieving what you think it is going to do.
They are the root cause. Do believe me, no one better placed than us, Argentines, to testify to these 2 points.
Oh, yes, testify. I feel like I'm at church, baby. Let's go. It is so good. Jeff says he won't be welcomed back there next year. I mean, low key, I'm actually shocked that they invited him to speak. Like, this is not at all in line with what anybody else is trying to say at the World Economic Forum. Is probably like the one thing that they're trying to say and cover their butts, that we're allowing for differences of opinions and we're trying to just make sure that we have actual freedom of speech, when they're not interested in that whatsoever, obviously, right? But this was their way of trying to pretend that they are. And the man just used the opportunity to nuke Davos, Switzerland, and all of the elites that are trusting each other and trying to take over the world more and more and more. The man is a legend, and I love him more and more and more every single day. Angie's from Argentina. That's my president, Dale Argentina. I'm very jealous of you, Angie, and I wish you guys all the best with your new president that I know you guys worked so hard to elect. So, look, I've already alluded to this a few minutes ago, but I think it warrants hammering the point home a little bit further. If if good people sit down and shut up and say nothing and don't pay attention, good meaning people, well-meaning people, educated people, even active people, politically, culturally, socially, and otherwise, if we're not paying attention to what the people in power are telling us, they are letting us know what they are trying to accomplish, how they are trying to rewrite the human story, the means in which they're trying to seize power to control you, to control your families, to control your communities, to control your country, to control the world. If we keep playing this, oh, haha, that's so crazy, but that would never happen game, it is going to happen. And frankly, it is happening right before our very eyes. These are the same people instituting and paying for the AI technologies that we all get a little freaked out about because they're getting just a little too dystopian. These are the same people who are creating and or financing the end to the agriculture industry by growing your meat for you in a laboratory, which, by the way, we know has been greenlit in the United States, but just got greenlit in Israel to grow beef. We're doing chicken here in the US, but beef is being grown in a laboratory in Israel now with biotech startup companies. These are the same people who are trying to fund climate change studies to allow for a socialistic takeover of every single one of your country's energy sector and energy grid to be able to tell you you don't get to use the electricity today. You don't get to drive your mandatory electric car today. And sure, today it might be because it's negative 49 degrees and it's just not environmentally friendly for you to turn on your stove, your electric stove, to cook something warm for your kids to eat. But who's to say that tomorrow it's not you tweeted something bad about us and we're mad about it, so we're remotely turning off your ability to use the electricity. I know that sounds crazy, but that's exactly where we're headed. We started to see that during COVID even. These are the people who are trying to tell you that you'll be unable to participate in society fully. You'll be unable to go to school, to get a job, to collect government subsidies, to pay your taxes, which we will lock you up if you don't, or to receive good health care if you don't provide all of your biometric identification data to us. What that's going to look like, I have absolutely no idea. It's so much bigger than a politician that you don't like. It's so much bigger than, well, I'm just not going to buy anything from that company because I disagree with the CEO's point of view. These people are trying to take away your voice. And bigger than that, not just silencing you and taking away your voice, they're trying to take away your mind. They're trying to take away your ability to think clearly for yourself, to discern the truth, to seek out different types of information and differing opinions. Because as they told you, the elites are getting closer. The elites are trusting each other more. The elites are more and more and more on the same page where there is no room for disagreement. There is no room for a difference of opinion. And they're doing everything they can to create a new world order based on that concept. That there is no room for any diversity of thought. You will believe what we tell you. You will eat what we tell you. You will eat the bugs and you will like it. You will own nothing and be happy, as was a famous quote from a few different World Economic Forums ago. This is bigger than, I don't like who the president is, but I can kind of just deal with it. This is bigger than taking away your voice and censoring you. They're trying to take away you as an entity, your mind, your heart, your soul, your passions, your interests, your education, your faith, and calling it progress in the process. So, sure, we can laugh and giggle and chuckle when they say these absolutely ridiculous things, and it gets virally posted on social media and everybody wants to rebroadcast it. We can say, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's never going to happen. We can say, oh my gosh, what a crazy, sad, dystopian world we live in. Ha ha. But if we don't do anything about it, if we don't think critically about what that means now, we're going to lack the ability to do so very, very, very quickly. The concept of a new world order entirely didn't even really come into the fold until 2020, when the World Economic Forum instituted that idea, which was oddly coincidental timing, if you want to ask me. But look what's happened in 4 short years. We've gone from, well, we didn't actually say that. There is no such thing as a new world order, to now literally telling you, in order to have a bank account, in order to go to school, in order to get healthcare, in order to pay your taxes, in order to get government subsidies, you're going to need to report your biometric identification to us. To saying, we want to control all of the media so that we can control the information that you process every day. To saying, agriculture and farming and fishing is committing ecocide. Ecocide, brand new term. To controlling all of the means of production to save the planet, which couldn't possibly have any nefarious side effects or problems down the line. I think we've often just become so uncomfortable in the last few decades in Western civilization. This is so much bigger than America. In Western civilization, with thinking about what's the worst that could happen, right? It's scary because a lot of what's the worst that could happens have come to fruition within my lifetime. What's the worst that could happen? And so we don't like thinking about it. We avoid it. We strategically try to think about something different instead. We say that would never happen. That's so crazy. We call it a conspiracy theory. We try to say that good people will fight even if I don't feel comfortable doing it. But I think in this case, we kind of do need to ask what's the worst that could happen. It's scary. It's difficult to think about. We don't want to imagine a future where we have no voice, where we have no mind, where we live, I have this on my desk all the time because I quote it in like every stream now, where we live like this in the Orwellian playbook for dystopian, totalitarian, authoritarian societies. But people aren't using this as a warning anymore. Not the people in power, not the elites. They're using this as an instruction manual. And I think we have a whole lot more courage to seize if we're serious about fighting this insanity, if we're serious about fighting this takeover, if we're serious about preserving individual rights. That hasn't quite happened yet. So look, am I saying you should fight against the machine, you little David versus the biggest Goliath all by yourself by like tweeting something? No. But think about something that you can do to draw attention to this and to change the tide of public opinion. To remind these people they work for us and not the other way around. Maybe it's something as simple as reposting this stream or sharing it with somebody that has literally no idea what the World Economic Forum even is. Sadly, there are a lot of those people out there today. Maybe it's making a video reacting to some of those clips yourself and posting it to your own social media, even if you only have 100 followers or 200 followers. But everyone's an influencer in some capacity. Everyone has influence over others in some capacity. Maybe it's talking about this at the bar on Friday with all your friends from college to get other people's take on it and see what they think about it. They probably aren't even aware that stuff is happening. But we have the opportunity to speak up now, to change minds now, to influence opinion now. Even if it's something that seems so trivial and stupid as raising your hand in class or reposting somebody else's video. You have no idea the impact and the influence that that might have on someone else's life. That's your homework. And I also have other homework for you. Real quick, somebody's asking, how do you repost the stream? They're asking that from Instagram. So the stream actually goes away on Instagram because of how Instagram set up the RTMP streaming, but it always stays up everywhere else that we're streaming. So you guys can get a link to this always on YouTube, on Rumble, or anywhere else that we're streaming after the fact. But for whatever reason, it doesn't let us like save the live video from RTMP streaming on Instagram quite yet. I do have one more piece of homework for you because I've been encouraged to talk about it more. I hate asking you guys to go click on other things, but I do think it actually is important in this case. If you saw my Instagram story earlier today, I started recording the first day of my audiobook recording for my new book that's coming out in March. If you liked any of the stuff that we talked about today, I talk about all of this stuff and how Gen Z is uniquely poised to speak up in a really exciting way and like save America, but also Western civilization in a way most people are discounting us for. If that sounds like something you would be interested in reading and or listening to in the future, if you guys can do me a huge favor and click on the link that I'm dropping in the chat right now, that is the link to pre-order my book. This book is hitting shelves March 19th in the United States and a bit later after that internationally. I think one of you from the UK told me today it's April 4th for a UK-based delivery from Amazon, but we want to get as many pre-orders as possible to let these global elites know that one person, one individual, one courageous voice can make a difference and hit some bestseller lists. So every single time you guys place a pre-order, that helps get us on lists like the New York Times bestseller list or USA Today or some of the more left-wing oriented lists that they really do not want this book on. And I need your help to try to get truth out there in any way possible. So please, please, please help me. Click on that link and pre-order a copy if you guys haven't already. And because we're back and it feels so good, we are going to jump over to Locals right now for our post-stream Q&A that we always do after the stream. If you guys are looking for a sense of community to join, you want to get to know me better, you want to get to know other people that share your values better, Locals is the place to be. Audiobook will be on Audible, you guys. Don't worry, it will be there in March, so hang tight for all of that. But you can click on the link that I just dropped right now to join us for our post-stream Q&A on Locals. As we are leaving the stream, if you want other people to hear this message and be aware of what's going on with the global elite at the World Economic Forum, don't forget to hit that like button. That could look like a thumbs up or a heart, depending on where you're watching. And you know the drill. Most importantly, smash that follow or subscribe button to help us grow these channels one day at a time. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Getter, Instagram. We'll be right back. No, we won't. We'll see you tomorrow. This is such a Monday brain for me. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Locals, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.